Okay, the recording started as well. So let's wait for attendees to come in. I think we send out quite some reminders today, so it should be good. Okay, we already have 8 people in the room, 9, 10. It's growing, so let's wait a couple more minutes. And then we can dive into this much anticipated webinar. We had to postpone this webinar, but we did manage to get the 3 of us together in a webinar room and to dive into the world of data-driven restaurants. Let's see, we have 12, so let's wait a little bit more. 13 people are coming in. Okay, welcome Ahmed, Evelyn, Frederick, Isabel, Kaula, Mohammed, Nouf, Ramses. Feel free to drop in the chat where you're all coming from. It's always cool to see the reach that we have. All right, let's wait 2 more minutes. Then it's 1:05, and then we can start. And everybody that wasn't able to attend will obviously get the recording of this webinar as well, so you don't have to miss anything. All right, I think it's time to start. First of all, welcome Tariq, welcome Jan, welcome to all the attendees for this highly anticipated webinar on how to become a data-driven restaurant. The agenda for today, first I'll introduce you to our speakers, then we'll have a look at why it's so important to become a data-driven restaurant. Then we'll really dive into the data and we'll look at restaurant data from different perspectives. First, we'll have a look at front of house, then we'll move to back of house, and we'll end with business intelligence. And then we'll also have a look at how to choose the best technology stack to avoid data silos. At the end, you all have the opportunity to ask questions to our panel. So without further ado, so with us today, we have Tarek. He's the co-founder and CEO of Fruits 360. Tarek, maybe you can introduce yourself a little bit and tell us what Fruits 360 as a company does.
Sure. First of all, thank you for hosting this very important topic of a webinar. Thank you to Apicbase and for yourself. Just to give you a small introduction, I'm CEO and co-founder of Quant Data Analytics and handling our product Fruits 360, which is a BI and analytics tool integrating with different POS systems, restaurant management systems, to provide different businesses with different insights, whether they're marketing insights, operational insights, expansion, franchising, sales, executive insights to make quick and better and more strategic decisions. I've been working in the data industry with the F&B for the past maybe 7 years. So I've seen all there is to see of data from the restaurant industry.
So you're the right guy for this topic. Nice.
Hopefully, I hope so.
Thanks. We also have Jan Pike Ladera with us. He's a point of sale expert. Jan, can you tell us a little bit about your background, please?
Hello, everyone. So thank you, Joyce and Tarek, for attending with me. And it's really a great pleasure to talk about, data and restaurants. I've been working in the industry, hospitality, I guess, for the past 12 years, working with various POSs, clients, partners in managing marketplaces, customer relations, and everything that's going around the POS. At one point, I was even installing the POSs myself. So yeah, it's been a while, and I've taken care of a lot of clients, from small businesses to enterprise clients with 1,000 shops to 2,000 shops.
Wow. Love to hear more of those insights later during this webinar. We should have Carl Jacobs with us as well today. He's a co-founder and CEO of Apicbase, but unfortunately he wasn't able to make it last minute, so I'll be replacing him. Quick introduction of myself. My name is Joris. I'm Chief Marketing Officer here at Apicbase for the past 4 years. And at Apicbase, we're building a leading back of house management platform where restaurants, chains, and other hospitality businesses can manage their inventory and centralize all their purchasing and procurement. Now, why did we organize this webinar? And the reason actually is quite simple. From the moment that you're starting to expand, you'll notice that the revenue that you generate grows quite quickly. And would you keep managing all that revenue in an Excel sheet? That's the question, right? You've got data coming from all sides. You've got data coming from your point of sale. So that's mainly your revenue. And on the other hand, you've got all that purchasing data, for example. And if you do it in Excel, then you probably do it once a month, which is not enough to really get to those insights. So it's super important that even early on, you start thinking about, okay, what insights can I get out of it? And if you do it in Excel, you're probably always running behind the facts. What we've noticed the past couple of years is that entrepreneurs that do use data, that they experience 2 main benefits. First of all, they have a competitive edge. They can make decisions much faster and much more accurate because they have access in real time, basically. So if they need an insight, if they want to analyze something, they just open their computer, the systems that they're using, and they can actually access that data in real time. What we also see is that these people or these entrepreneurs, these businesses, they make less mistakes. A quick example, let's say you're running a restaurant and you don't have the digital tools in place and you need to do a stock count. Probably somebody goes into the fridge, starts counting manually with a piece of paper, and then he passes that on to the person that actually needs to purchase fresh ingredients. Like maybe that person cannot read my handwriting, and that's how errors occur. And errors, they always put pressure on the margins that are already thin in food and beverage. And that's why having a digital strategy is really key to the success of your restaurant. A digital strategy actually enables you to become a data-driven restaurant business. First of all, there's a competitive advantage that we already talked about in the previous slide. But what I want to show you here is if you don't start early and you wait until your business is growing, either in more locations or more people, the harder it becomes to implement a digital strategy. Because if you start implementing a digital strategy, there's always a part of change management that needs to be addressed as well. And the more locations you have, the more people you have, the more people need to buy into the digital strategy, and the harder it will become to actually drive that change. So the first tip that we'll give you today is start early. The earlier that you start, the more insights that you will have, the more time you will save, but you will also tackle the fact that you don't have to deal with that change deficit later on. So that's mainly why it's important to focus on that digital strategy in order to become a data-driven restaurant business. Now, during this webinar, we'll look at restaurant data from different perspectives because the data is coming from all sides. And we'll start with the front of house, which is mainly focusing on generating revenue. We'll then move into the back of house, which is mainly focused on keeping the costs as low as possible. And then we'll move into business intelligence, where we combine all the different data sources and really go into deep insights. So I want to pass the word to Jan. He's our POS specialist, and he can tell us much more about all the front of house data that is generated and how you can use it to the fullest.
Thank you, Joris. So when it comes to front of house data and the point of sale, all data, it starts from somewhere. And the point of sale is the first step, right? All your sales, all your customer history goes into the point of sale. So as a business growing, and even as starting off, as mentioned earlier, that start, and the biggest problem or question we always get is, what is more important, collecting the data or having operations that are efficient, which sometimes, those two don't correlate. But what happens is you need to find a balance. You need to find a balance of collecting the data, as well as having that efficient operations that works. Now, yes, at the start, the first thing you'll always look at is your sales data. What are we selling? What items are connected to each other? What products are always partnered together? Which items are not selling? Which items are selling hot in the market? But that's just the first level of front of house data. There are multitude of data points that you can also get, like your customer data, loyalty, which are all very important when it comes to the front of house. This is where you could decide what items, what promotions, what discounts, what channels work for you. So as we can see, the data spectrum is not just one part. As you grow up as a business, as it matures, then the data would go deeper. Your understanding and your analysis of the data will go deeper and deeper. As the business grows, you will look at more data points that you could find. If you would notice any POS out there, Foodex, Revel, NCR, Lightspeed, Vent, whatever they are, they would have multitudes of reports. And most of the time, when you do start off, you only look at 2 or 3. Then the rest, you don't take a look. But as the business grows, then you will move forward and look at those other data points. Now, as a start off, yes, it is very important to have that data. As a startup, you have to have that data. Now, also one part is the consistency of that data. You can't have employees logging one sale and then later on logging another at a different time. No, everything needs to be coherent. That data needs to be in line with the procedures too. You can't have one person registering as a customer and the rest not. So it would be ideal to always keep that data consistent throughout the point of sale platform, through your operations process. Yes, it might be hard at the start, but in the end, with that complete data set, this will help you down the line as a business to find where you could improve. And all of these, remember, all of these data comes from the point of sale, your loyalty platforms, your inventory platforms. So these multitude of partnerships or even ingrained POS functionality is very important. With those nodes, they all form a whole picture of data, which as a business would need to be very important. So as mentioned at the start, you will have your customer data, and then next you will have your back of house data, which you then take a look, which now focuses on inventory, stock management. And this is where you start to streamline your operations. Starting from the gathering of the data, then you move to your second phase, which is streamline your operations, your costs, and even payment data. That's important. Do most of your customers look at credit cards? Do they use credit cards, debit cards, which is more profitable? Your delivery channels, your online ordering platform. So these pieces of data are very important to understand and to really take a look at down the line. So as I mentioned, you also have that inventory data that you take a look at, where you maximize your back of house details. Now, to move to back of house, I'll pass it over to Joris.
Thanks, Jan. Indeed, what you mentioned there is quite important, because all of these different aspects, like front of house, back of house, business intelligence, they don't work separately. It should be there are different pieces of that bigger puzzle. Now, when we look at back of house, a back of house management system manages quite a lot. It goes from inventory to procurement to menu engineering, food cost analytics. And that's what it eventually all comes down to. That's managing that food cost, making sure that your food cost is under control. We added a little example here where we see the impact of your food cost on the actual profit, right? In this example, there's a revenue of 500,000 euros or dollars with a certain food cost and a fixed staff cost and other fixed costs. Now, by reducing the food cost by 5%, you'll see that eventually, bottom line, the profit rises with 58%. Of course, this is just a theoretical example, but it's just to show you the power of keeping your food cost low. A small decrease in food cost can have a huge increase in your actual profit. And that's what we really focus on when we try to manage the back of house. And two elements play a huge role in keeping that food cost down. We already mentioned it. The first one is inventory, and the second one is procurement or purchasing. Now, when we talk about inventory, there are a couple of things that each restaurant business should do in order to keep track of inventory and to take the necessary actions in order to keep that food cost as low as possible. First of all, And I know it's a tedious job, but it's super important that you register all your inventory actions across all your sites, whether it's deducting inventory from your actual sales, whether it's registering waste, whether it's registering a transfer from one outlet to another. If you don't keep track of all these inventory actions, your inventory is going to become one big mess, and it's going to be super hard at the end of the month to understand what came in, what went out, where did it actually go to. If you are able to register all these inventory actions, then you're actually able to use that data to actually prevent over and understocking. We don't want to overstock, because then things go over their due date, and we need to throw it away. We don't want to understock, because then we can't sell items to our customers. And of course, we want to avoid waste as much as possible and drive pilferage to an absolute minimum. Now, if we go back to one of the first slides, this again is where a digital mindset really comes in. Doing this in Excel, it's possible, but it's going to take you a lot of time, and it's probably prone to error as well. If you use a back-of-house system, 21st century back-of-house system, what it does is it takes the sales data from your point of sale system, it translates it into, okay, we sold that amount of hamburgers. That means we need to deduct 5 kilos from our meat, that amount of buns, that amount of tomatoes, that amount of salad. And it takes care of it automatically. So no more errors and no more tedious and time-consuming stock counts. When we move to procurement, which is a logical next step, when we know our inventory, we also know exactly what needs to be ordered with our suppliers. Now, a couple of things that are super important when we talk about procurement is keep track of your price history or the price evolution. Again, you have a theoretical food cost, you know what your recipe looks like, but prices, especially from fresh ingredients, they tend to fluctuate over time. They become a little bit more expensive, they become a little bit cheaper, but those price fluctuations, they actually have a big impact on your theoretical food cost. And again, if you're managing in Excel and each price change from a product that you buy at your suppliers, you need to make those changes manually in your Excel sheet. It's going to take you a lot of time, and you probably do it 2 or 3 times, but the 4th time, you probably don't even do it anymore. While it can have a huge impact on your actual or your theoretical food cost, which means maybe you should actually increase your sales price because ingredients become more expensive, especially now in times of inflation. And that's why it's super important to know your cost of goods sold. The formula is stated here as well. It's basically taking your beginning inventory of F&B, you add all of the purchases that you did, and you deduct your ending inventory. And then you know what the cost of goods sold is. Why is it important? Because together with that sales data that you get from your point of sale, and you know what the actual cost was, you can produce your sales matrix, and you actually know which items not only sold the most, but also are the most profitable. And then we really want to look at the items that are being sold a lot with a high margin. Now, if we talk about food cost, inventory, and procurement, this really, we really do this to keep that food cost low. And once you're actually able to do that, and you have that back of house data, and you have that front of house data, you can go even deeper into it. And that's where Tarek is going to take us into the wonderful role of business intelligence and advanced analytics. So Tarek, up to you.
Yeah, thank you, Yours. First of all, it's very important, the part you spoke about registering all your inventory or all your transactions, because without it, we wouldn't be existing here with this BI topic to begin with. So, but today, essentially, I want to talk about first, why is connectivity and BI important? Today, with the rise of data analytics and AI, you see it integrated with different tools. Just recently, with the rise of ChatGPT, other AI platforms that are being integrated with different industries, I think BI and AI will quickly become a second language to every business within the few years coming. So accessibility and connectivity are a key part of this today, with the amount of data that is being captured from businesses on different tools and different levels, from customer data, transactional data, labor data, inventory data, and so much more. Every business needs to have a way to quickly access all these integrated data points in a manner that enables them to make quick and accurate decisions, as you mentioned at the beginning. Essentially, BI tools automate the process of data extraction, collection, cleansing, and transformation. Instead of manually collecting all your data, organizing them in different templates or sheets from various sources, it automates this process for you. It saves you time and effort for all the employees and the resources within a company, reduces the need for manual data preparation, and most importantly, and this is the thing we always communicate, is that it frees up your resources to focus on more value-added tasks. So rather than spend an 80%, which is previously happening, 80% of the time would be spent on collecting data, preparing it, and then spending 20% of the time on analyzing it and making a decision. Today with BI, you can actually reduce that time to nothing and just focus on the decision-making part. So it allows users to have their own reports, dashboards, without relying on any external department or IT or analysts within the business. You can access information you need and up-to-date insights as well. It's all live and on demand from various sources, whether it's a loyalty app and POS, social media for marketing purposes, or so on. It's all integrated into one place. Again, the key part here is time, because sometimes in different businesses with different sizes, they could take days, hours, days, or sometimes we've seen this with the businesses with more than 100 branches, where they would take at least maybe 2 to 3 weeks to generate one cost of goods sold report, for example. But today, so decision makers can access information with BI instantly whenever they need, and it supports the bigger picture of better and smarter decisions. If we can move to the next slide.
Yep.
So essentially, after you have all this data, obviously you have your quick reports, your sales reports, how much you're making on each product, and so on. But I wanted to talk today a little more about the behavioral aspect of data. So how to look at data in a more behavioral sense. We look at 5 different topics. So with menu engineering, market basket analysis, purchase behavior, customer behavior, and forecasting. And we'll also see how these all correlate together and how you work them together. So to start off with menu engineering, I'm sure a lot of businesses have worked with menu engineering before. It's not a new approach or anything. It's been there for many years. But just to give a small introduction about it, it's a strategic approach that helps restaurants and cafes maximize profitability, analyzing and optimizing their menu offerings. It involves studying the popularity and the profitability of different menu items that you have in your business to make more informed decisions, mostly about pricing, promotion, and item placement. And when it understands your customer preferences and your cost margins, so you can strategically design your menu to increase your revenue and profit. If we look at it from a pricing point of view, so today menu engineering is segments your items into 4 different sections or segments, which are stars, horses, puzzles, and dogs. With fruits, we like to call them turtles because they're slow moving. We don't like to call them dogs, but the general term is dogs. To start off, what can you do in regards with menu engineering in regards to pricing? So if you look at our star products, which are highly profitable, highly popular products, usually per pricing, if it's not broken, don't fix it. So maintain the price or slightly increase it. Since the items are already popular and profitable, it's generally advisable to maintain their prices or make minor adjustments just to capitalize on their success. If we look at the horses, which are low in profit, but they're high in popularity, sometimes in these cases, you should consider pricing adjustments. Evaluate if a modest increase in price is feasible, but beware of impacting their popularity. Small price adjustments can help improve profitability, but without alienating the customers who enjoy these items. If we look at our puzzles, for example, which are highly profitable but low in popularity, here we assess the pricing and presentation of them. Evaluate whether their pricing is too high, maybe, and it's deterring the customers' interest away. Sometimes in these cases, we like to advise our clients that to make a limited time discounts on these products that are highly profitable, just to get customers to engage with them and to actually try them out to see if it can raise their popularity going forward. And with dogs, dog items that are low in profit and low in popularity, reevaluate them, determine whether it's worth keeping these items in the menu and if they consistently underperform. So it's important to give it some time, give it some room to perform, give it a few months in order to see. Sometimes we see a lot of mistakes where businesses release a product for 2, 3, 4 weeks, and then if they don't see it as a hit, they instantly just remove it from the menu. You need to give it time, and once it's consistently underperforming, that's when you start considering removing it. Obviously, with menu engineering, one of the key things we say is that if you have a puzzle product, which is highly profitable but not very popular, and a horse product, which is highly popular, sometimes bundling them together could change their behavior. And that's where we go into market basket analysis. Market basket analysis is a method that helps businesses understand which products are often bought together. It examines the transactional data and the sales data and looks at different patterns and relationships between items that tend to be purchased together. It helps businesses make decisions like which products to upsell, which products to recommend. I'm sure anyone that's used Amazon today, once you put any product, the first thing that comes up is people who bought this also bought this. So essentially, it's very important to do within also the F&B industry to optimize product placement, recommend related products, and planning promotions and campaigns that are very effective and customer satisfactory. So essentially, it helps businesses to increase sales because identifying the associations between products frequently purchased together, businesses can leverage this information to encourage customers to add more to their basket, and in return, increase the basket size and the ticket size, which in turn translates to higher revenue. It also helps with higher customer satisfaction on different marketing campaigns. One of the things I also like to say is that look at it not as a business level, look at it also per location. So if you are franchising or you have multiple branches across the city, sometimes different neighborhoods or different cities, different areas have different behaviors, and every business should understand the different how different products are correlating in different areas and make maybe location-based promotions and so on. And to see how it's all related together with purchase behavior, when we look at products to bundle, even if we look at which products to bundle together, how do we know how many products should they be? Should I cater my bundle for one person, 2 people, or a group of 5? That is why it's so important to look at purchase behavior, the number of items in a basket, how many guests were you serving, how much was your average ticket sales when it was 1 product, what was the average ticket size when it was 2 products, 3 products, or 7 products. It's not just about the perfect bundle of products, but how many products is a strong factor as well. This often depends on the cuisine that your business falls under, obviously. So if you look at pizza places, which usually cater for like group settings, and for example, burger places that look at target more individuals. If I create an offer for a group session with pizzas today, should it be 2 pizzas, 4 pizzas, 6 pizzas? What's the perfect number there? After that, we look at customer behavior. So obviously, where customer data is important, and more important than ever to look at the different segments of customer, the demography of your customers, just to know when you want to target campaign with your marketing team, what's the target segment you're looking for. So, and to understand today, if I sell €1 million, dollars, or reals of transactions within this month, and the next month I have the same number, is it coming from a new audience or the same audience? Am I growing in my exposure or not? So with customer behavior, we look at 3 main things, which is the acquisition, which helps businesses understand the effectiveness of marketing and acquisition strategies. We look at retention to track customer churn, helps identify customer retention issues, areas of improvement, and satisfaction and loyalty. And obviously, the most important is loyalty segmentation. This helps in understanding your customers' loyalty based on different metrics. How recent are they? Are they an old customer or are they a new customer? How frequently do they visit? Are they frequent customers or did they just order once or twice from me? And are they still engaging with me? So these are the most important questions to ask to be able to identify where your customer lies in your loyalty segment. Usually, the highest loyalty segment would be your customers who are not recent, they're frequent, and they're still active. These customers should always be on the top of your list of constant promotions. But also, a key thing to look at is which customers that I registered today are going to give me the most return on investment. And although your highest loyalty ones will always be there, but they're usually a small percentage of your total customer base. A bigger percentage and customers that a business should always be targeting are customers who basically are not recent. They have been frequent, but they became inactive. So I lost them over time. Usually these customers, when I start campaigning towards them, they give the highest return on investment for a marketing campaign because they already know your brand. They just have become not engaged over time. And after that, I'm just going to briefly talk about forecasting. Obviously, forecasting is very important today and it's used in every industry there is. But I'm going to talk about the 3 main things that forecasting are used for in the F&B businesses. One is the demand planning, supply chain, and inventory management. So it helps estimate future demand, optimize inventory levels. There's a study that says with accurate forecast, and we've seen it ourselves actually, accurate forecasting helps reduce waste at least 85% by having just accurate forecasting to manage your product dispatching towards your locations. Obviously, you can use forecasting for financial planning and budgeting because it aids in setting realistic goals, setting the right targets as well. Because we also see this issue a lot where a business, for example, that has 5 branches in 5 different locations, they set the same target on each location, but they fail to see that each location has different behavior, different audience that it's serving. Also, one of the things you can use forecasting is resource allocation because it enables efficient resource allocation. If you know the traffic that's coming within a specific branch, you can manage your operational costs better by knowing how many people you need in that branch.
It's super interesting, Tariq, to listen to all of these different points and how these insights translate back to the topics we just covered, like front of house, back of house.
Exactly.
So people like this is really the puzzle coming together, right?
Mm-hmm. And I think now we can go to where we start looking at data from outside your business. So today, again, because I think people are unaware how much data is actually available today for them to utilize to expand their business and to start making more strategic decisions. And one of the cases I'm going to be talking about now is location intelligence. basically how to choose your next location. And a lot of people have these methods of, okay, I'll drive around nighttime around 3 a.m. and look at where the cars are heavily condensed. And based on that, because there's a lot of cars, I'll open a branch there, and that will serve a lot of customers. But today you have there's a lot of data sources online, which you can utilize to make even smart decisions on where to open next. So we look at this image here where we have as dummy business with like maybe 30 branches or something. The red area here indicates the population covered within a 15-minute drive, and the blue area are outside of that zone. So here we look at it and okay, so the red area covered is around 38% of the population that is being covered. And then if we look at the next slide, we look at the effect of adding 2 branches. So adding 2 branches, one the eastern side and one the southern side, increases our population coverage by 4%, which becomes 42%. So an average of 2% per branch. But what's important to note here is that some areas you can open a branch and it will give you 5% increase in population coverage, and some areas will give you less than 2%. Also, it's also important to mention that there's different types to expand your branches. So a lot of businesses would look at where to open, where their target segment is. So if I'm looking for low income neighborhoods with specific age brackets, then I would have to go to a certain area. And others will have a different goal and different methodology where they rely on footfall and population exposure. And it's a very important concept for people to understand, for businesses to understand today, that opening a branch does have a lot of studies that go before it. And today, with the availability of these different sources of data, you can make more accurate, much more informed decisions, and it can guarantee highest sales across all your from all your previous branches as well.
This is super cool, getting that external data involved as well, to be able to make these kind of decisions. It's really interesting, and this is definitely going to be the way forward, especially for larger food chains or branches. I think we've covered the 3 main points that we wanted to discuss today, but of course, if our attendees would be looking into different solutions, we still want to give you guys a couple of tips or things to take into account when you're actually considering buying new technology for your restaurant business. We listed a couple of things that you really should take into account. And yeah, one of them is connectivity. And connectivity, what it really means is when you are looking for a solution, make sure that it's easy and that it's able to connect to other systems, right? What we've seen today is that front of house, back of house, business intelligence, but there are even numerous other technology solutions for restaurants. But if you just let them work by themselves, you won't get the most value out of it. What's really important is that you can connect your your point of sale to your inventory, for example, your inventory to your business intelligence, and so on. And I think one of the secondary points which comes close to connectivity is having an open API. Really ask your technology provider if they have an open API, because sometimes you want to build things yourself on top of it. And I think, Tarek, you can shed a little bit more light on that as well, why it's important to see if technology solutions have an open API.
Sure. So when I started working in this in the F&B data industry, one of the biggest struggles we used to see is how a lot of businesses would have on-prem solutions, and especially that the cloud solutions had already started. Basically with on-prem solutions and cloud-based solutions without a specific API, it limits you in regards of how much data you can collect actually, because a POS at the end of the day is essentially an operational tool where it gives you the essentials you need to run your business today, run your restaurant today. But there's a lot of supporting factors, whether it's your loyalty apps, whether it's your own developed in-house app, whether you have delivery aggregators or delivery applications that you're integrated with. If you don't have an open API today, everything, you will always have that manual factor of things where you need to physically input information, which is prone to a lot of errors. And this is the thing, thankfully, in recent years, it's been much less. And one of the biggest examples I'm going to talk about for how it's been important is previously when you had the delivery aggregators, you would have a separate what's it called, hardware. Yeah, hardware, and you would look at the order and then you'd have to punch it in the POS. It's still being done today, but much less than it was before, because today with the open API, the connectivity became much quicker, and these aggregators are able to actually send their orders directly to the POS systems, even through delivery management systems as well.
Yeah, true. And you already briefly touched it. These point of sale systems used to be on premise. Jan, I think you probably still seen some of those installations.
Yeah, definitely.
And you really saw that transition to cloud-based systems, right?
Correct. Again, a couple of years back, I would say around 7 years to 8 years back, point of sale systems were all disconnected. You will even see some establishments with a Casio device that they just type everything in numerically, not even per item. So there was a big revolution, and I would say 90% of the POSs nowadays are cloud-based, which is very good. And this also connects to the two things that were mentioned. So your connectivity, your open API. So being a cloud-based system gives more accessibility to the data, right? So regardless if it is your inventory, your sales, customer data, loyalty, all are easily accessible. Now, there's also a part that says, an ecosystem. What really is an ecosystem? So majority of point of sales would have an ecosystem. They would have partners that they recommend. But it's not necessarily that if you're choosing a point of sale, it needs to have an ecosystem. As yours mentioned earlier, you can also have your custom integrations. You can bring in your own integration team, your own data team. But the difference is if you're working with a POS that has an ecosystem, then the POS trusts these ecosystems and the partners that are in the ecosystem, that they know how to understand the data. They know how to grab, they know how to understand, and they know how to interpret that data. So having an in-house, let's say POS, that has a very huge and good ecosystem is a plus to it. You'll have partners that you can easily access, and they know what data they're looking for, what data they have access to. So it makes your life easier in a sense.
It sure does. It sure does. There are two things, however, that we also need to take into account, because we're coming from analog, we're going to digital, but that also means that you need to take into account both security and customer success, right? Imagine that your system for some reason fails. You still want to make sure that the company that you're working with, the technology provider that you're working with, does everything they can in order to secure all that data that is being captured. But also, and that's equally important, that there's a customer success team that you can fall back to whenever something occurs. You can get in touch with them, whether it's via phone, via chat, via email, that you know there is a team behind that solution that is really there to help you when you actually need help, whether it's with the implementation, whether it's with maintenance, whatever. It's definitely a part that you cannot underestimate when considering new technology. I think we ended up at the Q&A part. I see 3 questions here at the top. Let's see if I can quickly pull them up. Let's see, there's my little arrow. Okay, when will we be starting? I think about an hour ago, so that question is already answered. All right, second question. When it comes to registering inventory, when customer requests item changes on the menu recipe, should we build a complex way to register that, or is there some buffer in inventory consumption tolerable? Well, I think the answer to that is twofold. When customers request changes, usually it's the point of sale that is able to handle variations, whether it's things that people want to add or things that people want to deduct. Modern point of sale systems are able to work with these let's say difficult orders. We call them modifiers. So a point of sale can use those modifiers to send the right data to the inventory systems. Let's say that your point of sale system doesn't have it, then I really think that it's a matter of taking into account how much of the times does it actually happen? Is it like 1% or 10% of the customers that requests these changes? And then I automatically think about things like Pokeballs, for example, where people can just like pick and pay. If it's a lot of people, then you should really take it into account, because if you have a theoretical inventory and it really doesn't match your actual inventory, then you're gonna purchase the wrong ingredients for the next coming days.
And I think I think it also correlates to what Tarek mentioned earlier. You know, changing the menu. Again, it depends on the size of the business and how the business works. But changing the menu, as Tarek mentioned again, you have to give it some time. If you're adding some items that are new or introducing a seasonal item that will just be on for 3 months or 4 months, you also have to take a look at that product life cycle. You can't automatically just remove it because it's not, not selling or it's not popular. Give it some time. And this data that you will run this item on, will also dictate how your customers, the end users, the end customers, are accepting these new items in the menu. So give it some time. I would say, as a POS expert and vice versa, taking care of dozens of clients, having a change in the menu on the point of sale, I would suggest don't make it really hard. If you think there is something that would benefit your customers and the end users of the database, then please do try it. And then do a study. That's monitor it week on week, month on month, in the performance. And that's where you'll see if it is really good for the items. Then the inventory, as yours mentioned, will come in and follow after that. If it's a different menu, you'll have different ingredients. So then you can calculate your cost, and that's where that cost of goods comes in and your sales and profits.
Thanks, Jan. Really makes sense. I think the next question is rather going to be something for Tarek. Would you require servers to enter information about how many people per order? How would you have consistent data when it comes to pickups and deliveries? I think it's both Jan and Tarek that can answer it.
From my side, this is one of the things that we always get asked about. Actually, and sometimes there is a direct way. So for dine-in restaurants, you can register how many guests are in the table through your point of sale system, whether it's 5, 4, and so on. But What we did, because we understand that there's also the pickup side where someone could pick up an order for their group of friends, or there's a delivery order and so on. So what we essentially did is basically looked at the behavior of the dine-in, how people are ordering, how many guests, how many products they would do. And one of the ways we did it is to try to reflect that on the pickup and delivery. But we also found an out-of-the-box way. So a few years ago, it was enforced in Saudi to start registering how many calories for each product that you have. And after you register some orders with some customers, you kind of get an assumption of the average calories that one customer will consume. So eventually what we would do is that we would actually look at the total calories that are in the basket. And based on that, we would look at how many people as an estimation, which I would say is a 90% accurate estimation, I would say. Sometimes people would go over and sometimes people would go under, but if we look at the average human, it would be around 90% accurate. And it also, we found that it reflects the dine-in numbers as well. So the behavior doesn't change too much between them.
Okay.
So, I mean, from a point of sale perspective, what I would always usually say, because as mentioned in the question, the deliveries don't usually ask how many people are eating, right? For some businesses, my suggestion would always be, look at your mains. You know, one person will not split a burger in half and give it to another unless they're, you know, kids. But it usually correlates to your mains. Again, it depends on the type of business you're in. So if it is a burgers, then you'll take a look at your mains, one burger per person. And then if you're in pizza, then how many people could consume that pizza? Small, medium, large. Large probably has 4 to 5. Then your medium has 2 to 3. And then your single or personal would have one person consuming it. So it might be a little bit of estimation. There might be a variance of 5-10% variance with the dine-in and the deliveries, but you will have an exact, you'll have a ballpark number of how many people would order, and kind of like the person per check, the average check. So yeah.
And yeah, just to follow up on that, exactly what you were saying, Jan, about you need to estimate from your product, you know how many people would eat it, and that's how we would have done it with the calories as well. So if it's a burger place, we know that it's about 1,000 calories for one person. But if you go to a healthier spot, it's usually 400 calories per person. So even different businesses have different calculations regarding this. But it is, you can estimate it. But obviously, you need to enter your calorie data within the POS system. Everything we're talking about here depends on registering and data entry.
All right, thanks for these insights, guys. We had 2 more questions that were sent previously to this webinar. One of those questions is mainly related to increasing the ticket size, like what metrics or what KPIs should people be looking at when they try to increase the ticket size of the guests?
So from a point of sale perspective, when you look at ticket size, and Tarek touched upon this earlier, it's really the study of what items go best with items or other items on the menu, which pair together. And the keyword afterwards is upsell. Majority of your apps now would always have an upsell. Some do give you suggestions saying, oh, this goes best with this. As Stark mentioned, just like in Amazon, if you order, most customers bought this and this together. You know, there would always be a suggestion, but a simple upsell based on data would be very good. That would increase that average ticket price. Now, yes, sometimes it might work, sometimes it might not work, but it is good for, it's good to be there just in case your customer gets enticed by a picture. I'm like that. I when I see something nice being upsold, I click it and I buy it. I think it's good because it suggests it. So I'm a sucker for that. I'm not saying others will, but it is good to have that upsell factor based on the data that you have. And
yeah, And it's these days it can all be tracked, right? Because people, more and more restaurants use digital menus, use the QR codes to send people to a website where they can order their dishes, and it can all be analyzed afterwards. What if I offer this drink instead of that drink when they order a certain dish? Does it actually increase the basket value, etc.? It's super interesting. Is there anything from your side, Tarek, that you want to add to that point?
Yeah, no, regarding increasing the average ticket, like Jan mentioned, and as I mentioned before in market basket analysis, it's an essential tool for any business to look at the relationship between your products and how to upsell them, and also to look at the purchase behavior of how many products should you be putting together to begin with.
Yeah, okay. Another question that we had was more related to the business intelligence side of this webinar, and we briefly touched it when you showed the various locations and where to open a new location. That data that you showed there on the map is coming from an external source, but we had somebody asking you, like, what other third-party data sources can you use, and what are the most used third-party data sources? Is it like delivery platforms? Is it Google Maps?
Yeah, so definitely, yeah, when I was talking about location intelligence, it's about external data sources. But also, if we go back to the point of connectivity and API, so what's the point of this? Today, most POS systems, the modern ones, the cloud-based ones, have marketplaces with so many different segments of different, you and us, ourselves and you, Apicbase, are part of that marketplace as well. So different tools today that are essential for you to grab data, I would say, the most important ones are customer loyalty ones, because essentially you always need a way to smoothen out how you get your customer information. Usually, if there's a hiccup in regards to the operations from the cashier side where they have to ask for a number or something, a lot of solutions today provide you with QR codes or some quick way to register yourself as a customer. So capturing that data is important through these third-party applications, and also any delivery app, but I would say delivery management systems. So there's a lot in the market today, like Otter, Deliverect, Agroptic as well. These solutions today help out businesses in a huge way, where they can have different delivery aggregators all in one place, and then you can manage everything together with the POS system, and they register each order to the POS system. So I mentioned before the issue of having a separate hardware. There are solutions today that put all the delivery channels into one place, and then it goes through the API directly.
Yeah,
I would say these are the two most important ones today. Obviously, there's a lot of accounting softwares that are important and so on, but these are important because I could see how they can directly affect operations and make it better every day, whether from a marketing perspective or from an operational delivery perspective as well.
All right, thanks for elaborating on that. We have one more question. It's an interesting one. How do you balance keeping the user experience simple and seamless while also gathering data consistently? Are there some best practices about how long it should take to gather data on point of sale, etc.? Perhaps depending on restaurant type, fast food versus other cuisines, data is good, but overkill can ruin the customer experience as well as the server cashier user experience. Well, I think that the main point is already touched in the question itself, and the answer to that is actual user experience. A good solution will avoid that the server needs to ask a dozen of questions to the guest in order to collect data. It should actually go seamless. A quick example that I already just shared, like if you use these QR codes and people can order with their phone, then you are already gathering a lot of data about upsells, cross-sells without the customer realizing that you're actually analyzing his choices that he made afterwards. But I think, yeah, Tariq and Jan definitely shed your light on it as well.
Yeah, when it comes to point of sale experience and gathering that data, as I mentioned earlier, each business needs to find that balance, and that balance is different per business. For a coffee shop experience, it's better to have it on, let's say, your loyalty app. That's where you gather your data. For dine-in, in-house restaurants where you have full service, people sit down, then maybe a QR code with a survey afterwards could work. So it really depends on the business, and I do believe all businesses will find that balance. Once you start to see and put importance in the data, you will find ways to always make it work with your operations. And because in the end, it will benefit the business. It's not just gathering data for decorations, but it will be beneficial for the business at the end. So finding that balance of having that right customer experience, the right platform of gathering that data, and finally your operational excellence and operations efficiency on one line to make it, you know, the best experience when it comes to the business itself.
Definitely. And from my side, I think as well, it's people, I think today there's this assumption that it's much harder to gather data than it actually is. So today there's multiple solutions that exist that make it so seamless, and you can gather data with a simple QR code. You don't even need to interact with the customer, but you need to make it appealing for the customer as well. You need to somehow offer them, like, for example, one of the most there's the most famous coffee shops here, obviously, is Starbucks. Starbucks have this loyalty app where it's just seamless. QR code, you go, they take it, and then they reward you with some drinks or whatever. We have also one of our clients, actually, Navi Grill, which has, I think, one of the best implementation of gathering customer data using their loyalty apps. Just because they keep persisting from their cashiers and other sources to put their information, just for the fact that they give them so much benefits that it makes it appealing for the customer to do. It's not as hard of a problem as it was, and I don't think it ruins the experience at all for anyone, because it became integrated into our lives now. I don't think there's barely any place, I think at least 50% of the places we go, and 100 places of the online places we order from have our data already, and 50% of the places we go already are asking for this or have some sort of loyalty app and so on. So, and I think with time it'll be even smoother and smoother. I'm hearing the past year there's this new thing where it's just facial recognition, and you go into a place and it just recognizes you, and so the more time that's passing, it's becoming more and more seamless, and it won't affect the operations or the experience of any customer.
You walk into the door, they recognize you, and they serve you promotions tailored for you.
Tailored for you.
That's where we're going to in a couple of years. All right. Yeah, considering time, we're already like 25 minutes over time, I think. We still have a busy agenda this afternoon. So I really want to thank all the participants in this webinar, all the people that didn't make it. They will receive the recording probably tomorrow somewhere via email. I really want to thank Tariq and Jan for joining us on this, this super interesting topic. I think that if our agendas allowed it, that we would have had more and more questions popping up, and that we would be here for another hour or so. So I think we should do another session anytime soon, where we can really go into super specific things, maybe. So without further ado, I want to wish you all a very nice rest of the day, and thank you all again for attending, and look out for that email with the replay. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you guys. Thank you, Jan. Thank you, Horus. Thank you, Apicbase.
Thanks. All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.